You found your way to the Winning Tactics podcast with host Adam Sinkus. Adam discusses winning tactics with small business owners and entrepreneurs, uncovering processes and introducing the tools and solutions for enhancing the bottom line. Thanks again for finding your way to the Winning Tactics podcast, and now your host, Adam Sinkus.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. It is Tuesday, June 2nd. My gosh, I cannot believe we are already into the 6th month of the year, but here we are in this crazy year. Welcome to the Winning Tactics podcast. As you all know, my name is Adam Sinkus. I have with me today Patti Mara, and we are going to talk about some great sales strategies for your business, getting rid of that transactional feel and really pushing it towards more of relationship selling, which is, in my opinion, what works today. But Patti, welcome to the show. Glad to have you on. Tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Great. It's wonderful to be here, Adam. Thank you for having me on your podcast. And so I'm a business coach, and I've been coaching entrepreneurs, in particular focus in the area of customer service, which of course has evolved into customer experience. In 2007, I launched an online program called The Profit Generator, turning your customer experience into profit. And, we put so much attention on, getting new business, getting new customers, getting new clients. And yet it usually takes, for most businesses, it's a minimum of 3 interactions with the business before you're actually generating a profit because of what it costs to attract and acquire a new customer. So the idea of, yes, you need to always be having new customers come through your door, and you really want to shift your focus and make sure that the customers that are coming through your door, you're taking care of them, you're creating solutions for them, you're building a relationship, and you become the trusted solution partner for their needs.
Awesome. Yes, I love that. So often we get stuck in this sort of, call it a cycle of just, I need more business, I need more business, I need more business. And at the end of the day, guess what? I want to make more money. You want to make more money. Everybody wants to make more money. And we know the best way to do that is to build our existing customers, acquire new customers, right? And so I think it's easy to fall into that trap, but on the same token, falling into that trap can be detrimental to your business as well. So let's talk about a little bit about how businesses get stuck in this transactional cycle of sales, because I think that's an important place to start. Is a little bit of the background. So first of all, for those that aren't aware, let's define what is transactional sales versus relationship sales.
But in order to answer that, Adam, one of the things, just back up a little bit, because I actually think what's happening right now in the 2020s, you said what a absolutely bizarre year that we're in the midst of. And certainly the business fallout from the global pandemic, lockdown, businesses. I have friends that their business went from multi-millions to zero overnight because they have an event staffing business or they have an event management business, and they're not coming back for a while, right? So I actually think what's happening right now is an acceleration of trends that were already happening. So it's like the trends over the last 10 years, I'm going to get right back to your point, because I think the trends have been, there are new business roles. We're shifting from sales to solutions and from transactions to relationships. And in particular, independent businesses, if you're not making that shift, we tend to fall in the trap that we think our business is what we sell. And I think what you sell, your product or service, is just a vehicle for delivering solutions and value. Your business is the value you create. So, defining it a little bit more, Adam, a transaction is, you're just not worried about the person in front of you. You're just going through, it literally is cash changes and product or service change hands, and that's that. A relationship is you're actually identifying who is that person, what do they need, what am I doing that's creating value for them, and how can I ongoingly be a resource for them.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. A great call out there. Solutions versus products.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I've read probably 10 or 15 different sales books over the year, and you know, they all kind of skirt around that basic premise to a point, but I think it's interesting when you just go, you have to sell the solution straight up. This is what it is. You have to sell the solution. The product doesn't matter. There's 1,000 roofers. There's 1,000 marketers. There's 1,000 business coaches. There's 1,000 consultants out there, and the product offering, no matter who you talk to, essentially is the same. I mean, let's be real, right? So when you talk to like your clients, right? What is that kind of first approach of getting them out of that product mindset?
So I'd say the first approach, it's interesting. I think there's some mindset shifts. And so one of the mindset shifts is that there's always opportunity and change. Exactly what we're dealing with right now. You know, the idea that when one door closes, another door opens. And we spend so long looking at the closed door, we forget we're missing what's opening up. So the first is to really deal with what's the opportunity in change. And change is just it's communicating information to you. The second mindset shift is that your customers are always talking to you. We often listen to the words and respond to the words, and we miss the message. And that if you pay attention, every communication from your customer, an email, a question, a comment, a thank you, a complaint, every single piece of information is communicating what's important to your customer. And then the third mindset shift is identifying the wisdom in your business. So both the owner and the team members are actually experts compared to your customers. Consider that your customers don't know what you know, but your customers don't even know the questions to ask to make an effective buying decision. So just interacting and asking probing questions that guide someone through what you know your customers need to consider to make an informed, educated decision. That guidance, those questions, that guidance alone is of huge value. So that's a little bit different way of answering it. I would say the first thing is to shift, be aware, open up how you're thinking about your business. And then the next step is to really define your target audience. Get really clear. I find that most businesses have 2 to 5 good target audiences, but you want to identify your number one and really build an avatar around that, because your communication, your training with your team, your awareness has to be around who they are, what's important for them, and how do you create a solution for them.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. You know, in the digital marketing world and in the marketing world in general, this is like ground zero. Every customer starts with the same conversation, and you know, so it's interesting though the concept that people have around what building an avatar really means. So fill us in on that. What do you really mean by building an avatar? Because I think a lot of people scratch the surface and don't truly understand how deep you really should be going.
Absolutely. Well, and it's interesting because I actually work with a lot of brick and mortar businesses, and you know, I keep hearing this: brick and mortar's dead. This is going to be the last nail in the coffin, and it's like, no. Huge opportunity. I think brick and mortar are the uniqueness and hub of a community. I think our opportunity, brick and mortar opportunity, is coming out of this as a leader, bringing our communities out of this time of crisis and turmoil. And I'm saying that because online is just as important. However, I find it's more important to get the avatar, the target audience, right with an online business than a brick and mortar business. Because a brick and mortar business, you can kind of figure it out who's walking in the door, But an online business, if you don't go deep enough, if you don't really understand who your market is, and you're creating compelling copy and language to your market, you're completely going to miss it. You can't be everything to everyone, or your languaging will never hit who you want to connect with. You won't build a relationship if you're not communicating in a language that works for your target audience. So it's getting. I was talking to one of my team members, my social media manager, and my marketing manager. We were having this discussion today because they've asked me to create a couple of videos that they can populate in social media, because they're going to pay attention to who watches the video, who clicks on it, and who watches it all the way through. And that's starting to fine tune the avatars, like who's attracted to this message and who listens to the whole thing. Well, that goes to a deeper level. And when you've defined, let's say you're in business and you've made a sale, and it's a really good sale, the customer's appreciative, you've delivered value, they love what you do for them. Great. So describe who they are. Whatever the demographics, the description of that one person, then if you can really describe them, it depends on your business, married, unmarried, children, own a house, own a business, certain age groups, whatever that is, you start to really hone in on the demographics. And then where do you find other people like that?
Yeah, no, I agree. So demographics, I think, is where people don't go deep enough, in my opinion, right? Because it's not just the demographics. It's once you figure out those demographics, what does that demographic actually care about? What are their typical hobbies? What is their income level? What is their income level allow them to do? What are their shopping habits outside of your business? Even if you're a construction roofing company, what are their shopping habits? What kind of places do they shop at? Why? Because if you know that, where you can target them and what keywords they might be looking for as they shop. So great call out there. Avatar is ground zero. It's the most important thing you can do as a business owner. And I wholeheartedly agree. Once you find your product, find your avatar, and just market the crap out of it.
and track the results, because you refine based on the engagement, the non-engagement. I mean, every action you take, I can't remember. I love quotes, and I'm sure Winston Churchill is one of them. It's like, success is one failure past where everyone else stops. Right?
Yeah.
It's all market research.
Yeah, no, that is a great call out. Data is king. It's so hard to attribute data to people because people are so diverse in what we do. But there is data that you can track from behaviors, from actions, how much they spend. All these data points are keys into your business, and so I think it's a great call out to talk about the data behind it, because at the end of the day, as a business owner, again, I want to make more money. That's where the ROI comes from. So let's move into the sales cycle a little bit more. We've talked a little bit about the avatar and defining who your ideal customer is, and getting out of that mindset that everything has to be a transaction. So what can business owners, once they realize that this relationship-based mindset needs to be at the forefront of everything that they do, where do they start in their sales process with that and redefining it?
There's a little bit of a chicken and egg. Which end do you start with? I mean, do you start with your marketing? I personally like to start with the team. And the reason for that is because you can identify your target audience. You can identify the value, what they appreciate. I mean, I certainly recommend surveying or discussing with your client base. What are the things you like? Any improvements you see? What do you value from us? What can we do more? I mean, survey get the wording from your customers. So once you define, how you want to position what you offer, then the next piece for me is to actually engage your team. And so, because if you're out there promoting your business as a solution provider and the solution that you create, then your team has to be delivering a consistent experience. If you're out there promoting it and the team's treating all customers as transactions, then I got to tell you, you're back to being commoditized because you're not actually delivering an aligned experience. So I start with the team. The team needs to understand, and there's a distinction between the tasks of a role versus the results of the role. And it's as simple as, if somebody's job in a store, and let's say a grocery store, if their job is to stock shelves, their task is to stock shelves. But unless they're doing that after hours, their job is really customer service. Mm-hmm. The activity might be stocking shelves, but they're the ones that are front and center that people are going to ask questions. Do you carry this? Where do I find this? And so how they go about that, if they view customers as an interruption from stocking shelves, they should be doing it after hours. So, the team really needs to understand the value that's being created and what's their role in it. I like to say, we want to turn your customers into raving fans and your team into heroes. Your team get turned into heroes when they understand that their job is problem solvers. Their job, I have a formula in my book, Up Solutions. I call it the Up Solution recipe, and it's very simple. It's again to train your team, and it's that the team understand that they are actually experts committed to the customer. So the first step is to applied observation. What do you know about people when they first come into your store or they first interact with you online? There's a lot of clues based on your experience of what you can pick up of what do you already know about that person. And then the second is asking probing questions. And the questions are simply, you're literally helping someone define what a good buying decision is. It doesn't matter if you want to buy a flat screen TV, you want to find the best dog food or pet food, whatever purchase. I want to get the best insurance. I want to find the best roofer. I had to replace my roof in April because I had raccoons pulling the shingles off. So any of those. So that second one is. The third is, making a recommendation of the solution you have and why that's a solution for their specific needs. And the fourth is, what's the ongoing relationship development? And you should always be looking for, you created a solution once, what else might they need, and how do you stay in contact and communication? So Adam, back to your question, I would start with really setting the team up to win, and so that they know how to create an aligned experience. And then we'll start talking about how do you design your front stage experience from, they first interact with you, what's the flow, and then what's your marketing? How are you communicating, differentiating yourself out in the marketplace?
I love it. So one of my favorite movies of all time is Drumline. I don't know if you've ever seen it or not.
I have not seen that movie.
It's absolutely fantastic. It is the one and only Nick Cannon movie that I actually thought he did a good job in. Another discussion for another day. But one of the lines from that movie is one band, one sound.
Yes.
And I've always taken that mindset with business as well. And so I love that you start with the people first, because if your team is not on the page with, with what's going on in the whole bigger picture of everything, then no matter what you do, you're going to be stuck where you're at. Mm-hmm. So it's a great call out there. And we can take that even, a step further. And Richard Branson says, if you take care of your team will take care of your customers. And it's the same piece, right? So, two critical call outs there, but I absolutely love starting with the team first. We are going to pause for just a moment and say hello to the audience. We have Gabriel and Lee. Welcome to the conversation. Thanks so much for joining. Gabriel would love to know, is Patti from Canada?
Yeah, I saw that. It was like, what did I say, A or about? And the answer, Gabriel, is yes, I am.
I used to live up in Detroit, and we used to go over to Windsor all the time for various different things, mostly in my younger days for partying. But But yes, I picked up a lot of the dialect, and then I worked for a company where the majority of our teams were actually in Canada. So I'd spend like 4 or 5 hours on conference calls every day with teams from all over Canada. And my wife would laugh at me every time I come home because I drawing out the vowel sounds and things like that. She's like, "Would you stop talking like that? That's not how you talk."
Well, and I'm the same, because for the last 10, 15 years, most of my clients have been in the States. So I spend all my time on the phone. And I've had once a Canadian said, "Well, you're not from Canada." I said, "Well, yes, I am."
Absolutely
nice to meet you
love
too,
it.
Lee.
Absolutely love it. It's one of those weird, funky things we do as human beings. But it brings me to an interesting point, because I think at least in my opinion, some of the most successful salespeople I've ever met are the people that can, in a way, emulate their customers and build a piece there. So what are your thoughts on emulating your customers to build that relationship?
Well, so I think one of the pieces, if you're going to emulate your customers, it's really paying attention and listening. So this is a piece in when I do training that I always include, and it's distinguishing the difference between words and message, and putting the filter on anything that your customers say to you. They're communicating what's important to them. So if they say, to a pharmacy, "Thank you for having my prescriptions ready, I can run in and run out," they're communicating that time's important. If they're saying, "Where do I find this in your store?" they're telling you it's not easy to navigate. And if they say, "Well, what's the cost of this? What's the price of this?" then they're letting you know that it's not easy to find that information. So really, the first piece is to really pay attention to everything that is being said to you, and then literally every word that's being said to you. What's the message? And your team needs to know this, because in a lot of businesses, it's the team members that have the most direct contact with the customer. And this is true for online as well. One of my favorite examples, Adam, have you heard of Allbirds?
I have not.
Well, so fascinating story. Allbirds came about because of the New Zealand wool industry. I mean, wool is decreased in demand. Our natural fibers have decreased. So they hired these two young guys to create a product to increase demand for wool. So they created these running shoe type. They're wool on top, and they're some kind of I don't know what kind of a rubber it is, but the base is, all of it is environmentally neutral, right?
Okay.
And they're comfortable and they breathe. They started with a big social media push. So I saw them on Facebook. So I bought a pair. Their website and their email interaction and the packaging of the shoes, and then the follow up, I felt like they were talking directly to me, and I felt like I was talking to a person. And all of it was automated.
Yeah.
Absolutely spectacular, but they did a fantastic job. So I'm going to say they test drove, they knew who their customers were, and they test drove. Their marketing was addressed and hit my needs, got my attention. And I started giving them away as presents. And one person I gave a pair to, I got their sizing wrong. And so they contacted the company and actually had a better experience by shipping it back for free and getting a new size shipped to them. So just a great example of what happens if you really understand, if you can emulate or identify who they are, and then you get literally walk in their shoes. You have to look at your company from their perspective and what's their experience at every touch point.
I love the word experience in it, because so many people, so many small business owners look at it as customer interaction or customer touch point, and if you switch your mindset to what is the customer experience and try and live the sale process, the service process from their perspective, you instantly build this sort of connection with your customer that you won't be able to accomplish really in any other way. And so, we talk a lot about this in designing websites and software and things like that. Is user experience is the number one piece of any website. How are they going to experience the website? What are they is the expected behavior based on the way the website is laid out from a user's experience, not from the guy designing it or the team designing it or the team scrutinizing it to make sure everything is checked and double checked and triple checked, but strictly from the customer's perspective, how is it going to be used? And so that to me is just something that's really important that I think is often lost in customers and customer relationships is just focused on that experience with them. And you make a great point with the shoes, right? One of the coolest things I've seen is there's a company that service hard drives, and they actually when they have to send out hard drives to a data recovery company that they use, they send with it a pack of Swedish fish. And there's a whole video on YouTube on this. And they choose Swedish fish specifically because they don't melt. That's why they use Swedish fish. But what they found is just by including a small package of Swedish fish in every package that they sent out to this data recovery, they actually increased their efficiency and time of return from this company, I think by like 20 or 30% of getting them back quicker. So they could better service their customers, right? And so, so is the data recovery one of their direct customers that's paying their bill? No, it's a cost for them technically. But at the end of the day, they found a way to service. They found a way to service customers, their customer, so to speak, in a way that helps their business. And it's just a really cool philosophy when you start thinking about the experience as opposed to just a product. So, and I think products, the line is blurred on products these days as well, right?
You can turn a service into a product and a product into a service.
You can, yeah. And more, even your brick and mortar retail stores are focusing more on the ones that are being really wildly successful are focusing more on how do I keep my customers coming back and coming back and coming back, which now takes it from a product mindset to a service mindset. Nordstrom, I think, in my opinion, was one of the first major retail companies to master this when they did the in-store concierge service, when they started doing the in-store concierge service. And they saw amazing results from it. I don't remember what the specific numbers were, but in the first year, they increased sales, they increased transaction amounts, they increased a whole bunch of critical metrics for them just by having somebody help you shop. And so they created a service that sells their products.
Which is paying attention to who shops in their store and what would have them feel taken care of.
Yeah. So, so we've talked a little bit about what's transactional versus relationship selling. We've talked about kind of those first steps of shifting your mindset. We dove a little bit into customer experience. At the end of the day, we still have to close customers, right? And I think it's really easy to get in that mind, the so to speak, I call it the used car salesman mindset. Buy now, buy here, buy today, and so how do you shift your mind from that, I need to close this right this second, right now, 100%, to still getting the same types of results without feeling like that used car salesman?
I think the pivotal shift is really thinking out of it from a solution base. People want to buy solutions. They don't want to be sold, right? So here's a great story. This was a friend of mine decided he wanted to put up a shelf in his office. So he went to one of those big shelving or storage stores, and he's in the shelving aisle. And a young clerk comes up to him and says, can I help you? And my friend Dan said, no, I'm fine. listen, the fact that somebody asked in a store, fabulous. The fact that he didn't walk away, this young clerk, huge score for me, right? So he stayed there. He knows, talking about applied observation, he knows Dan's in the shelving aisle. So he said, what type of wall? He asked a probing question. What type of wall do you want to put the shelf up on? And, Dan, this isn't his thing. He's like, I get drywall, I guess. And then now they're engaged in a conversation. The young clerk said, so what do you want to put on your shelf? And, Dan said a couple books, a couple things in that. So based on the type of wall and what you want to put on, this is the shelf I recommend. And the reason why is because with drywall, you need a longer hook into the wall, needs to be anchored, and that way it won't fall off. If you buy this shelf, it would probably fall off within a month. So Dan walked out of the store thrilled, bought an $85 shelf, thought, went in expecting to spend $25, was looking at a $25 shelf, right? But he walked out happy with his purchase, so happy with his purchase, he told me about it. Right? So yeah. I think the pivotal thing, there are lots of sales to be made. However, it needs to be, how are we taking care of our customers so that they feel like we're taking care of their needs? We're all happy to spend money to have things taken care of for us. Whether, there needs to be some type of return on investment, and we're creating that sense of return on investment, either because we're creating better lifestyle, we're solving a problem, we make something less expensive for them because of something else, or we just create so much more value. And when you do that, the majority of people, if you've actually created a solution for their needs, they're going to walk out without feeling sold. But usually because they don't know how to make decisions without guidance. And it's like when I was a couple of years ago, maybe 5 or 6 years ago, I decided I wanted to get a flat screen TV. I'm late to the party, but I'm going to get a flat screen TV. And because I know I don't know how to make a decision, I went to 3 different stores. And I was lucky enough that we had a small local, audio visual store in the small town where I live. And somebody stopped and paid attention to me and asked me questions. What size room do you want to put the TV in? What do you like to watch on TV? Apparently, it turns out it's different if it's sports versus drama. What's the sound? So I asked me a bunch of questions and then make a recommendation. And when I was buying the TV is when LED first came out. And one of the things is I got sold on the technology, had no idea about it, but they educated me on the difference, on the choices, plasma, LCD, LED. And I got sold on the energy efficiency and the rest of the bells and whistles of it. So I went in expecting to spend $400 and I left spending $1,200. But they set it up for me. I had a complete surround sound, and I'm thrilled with the purchase. So that's a much bigger sale than I had budgeted, but I'm happy with it.
Yep. And so I think something important to call out there is a sale like a TV, or you mentioned your roof. These aren't purchases that you are going to make, every week, every couple of weeks. It's not like going to the grocery store or going to pick out a new shirt or a new pair of pants or a new dress or whatever. These are major purchases. And so those companies have to, I think, focus so much more on the experience. And so their goal at the end of the day at that electronics store is to take you from spending $400 to spending $1,200, because they know it's going to be 5 or 6 years, most likely, before you come back again. And so,
but there might be other needs that there might, so if they were doing a good job, they'd also find out a little bit more about me. And would you like to be on our news list? So we send out a newsletter, which is how to get the most out of your technology, or, right? Yep. Because, who would have predicted this year? But now you can't get mics or you can't get webcams because everything's sold out, right? But if I had a hub that I could go to and just say, this is what I need, can you help me? I'm thrilled. I don't want to put that research in. I don't know how to make decisions.
Yeah. And if you've already built that trust with one major purchase, you already have that trust. So it's an easier process to go, this is what they recommended, and I'm good with that. So it makes the subsequent sales so much easier, which is something that I again, I was actually talking to somebody today about that. Is the subsequent the win back sales, I call them, are so much easier than trying to prospect new customers. So great call out there. We're getting towards the end of time. I would like to always wrap up my show with final thoughts. And so I would love to hear, out of everything that we've talked about today, what is that one really key critical piece of information that everybody should walk away with?
Well, and at this point, can I talk about the URL, the download link?
We will get to that next when we talk
Okay.
about where people can find you.
Okay, that sounds good. Because one of the pieces is, Lee put into the chat that he looked at Allbirds and through Wayback Machine, and they did an iterative improvement. And I think that would be my final thought. It's that nothing is about getting it perfect. I like there's a whole thing around the 80% approach. This is a strategic coach concept, that your job is to get out there and do 80%. Based on what you know, take action. And then review what worked, what didn't work, and then take the next 80%. And it's kind of like 6 Sigmas based on that too. If you just continually do improvements and pay attention to what's working, what's not working, all of that's the raw material for you to hit the goals, to have the success you want to have success. So, identify your target audience and go and interview them, and then go back and with your team and see, am I on track or not? And then, check in the experiences you're creating. Have team huddles that you review this on an ongoing basis. The only thing, as long as you're in action and reviewing it, you will hit your goals.
Yeah, no, I agree. I love that you call out specifically review it and understand what your goals are and whether you're hitting them or not. Mm-hmm. I think that's a common place that people miss a lot is that follow-up phase. So very cool. I definitely appreciate all of the wonderful information you've provided. You have a book out as well, Up Solutions. Where's Up Solutions available?
And it's Up Solutions, turning your team into heroes and customers into raving fans. It's available Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Indigo, Chapters Indigo in Canada, as well as Amazon in Canada.
Awesome. Fantastic. And where else can people find you?
Perfect, Adam. So my website, pattimara.com. And we've created a special page, and Adam, you just put it into chat. We've created a special page for everyone that's listening to this podcast, and it's pattimara.com/winning tactics. So pattimara.com/winning tactics. And on that, just to kind of pull together what we were talking about, and when you were talking, Adam, about experiences. So when you go there, I've created a tool called the Touchpoint Scorecard, and you'll be able to download for free the fillable PDF of the tool, and there's a short video training on how to use it. The tool is designed for you to put yourself in your customer's shoes and be able to look at each of the different interactions that your customers interact with your business, and look from the customer's perspective and look for small improvements that will align that experience with the value you create.
Awesome. I really appreciate that. I know the viewers of this podcast, both listening live and on the replays, will enjoy that as well. Again, I really appreciate your time, your knowledge today. Awesome stuff. Really going to help business owners take that next step. As always, this does take me time, effort, and a little bit of money to put these on every week. So I did drop the link in the chat, but it is also on the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, patreon.com/Adam Sinkus. Would love your support. Every penny that goes there goes back into supporting the show, whether it be advertising it, whether it be putting it on, whatever needs to be done so that I can continue to provide this value for you. Again, Patti, thank you so much for joining us today. And audience, have a wonderful day. We will be back Thursday again at 1 p.m. We will see you all Thursday.